On today's episode of Chicago Bears Now, I'm going to take a look at 5 notable players the Bears could cut before the start of the 2024 season. My name is Harrison Graham. Appreciate everybody for clicking on today's video. You can also help me out by giving me a follow on Instagram. We're trying to get to 5K over there. I'm publishing content almost every single day as well. You guys can hit me up in the DMs. I don't always get back right away, but I will eventually respond. Less than 300 followers away. Help a brother out. Give me a follow. Once we get to 5,000, we're going to put some of your mock drafts on the show here. So go support me by following me on Instagram. All right, let's get into my 5 cut candidates that I think could be gone this time or before the season next year. And I think the most obvious one, and it hurts to say to an extent, but it's clear, is Cody Whitehair. He's got 1 year left on his deal. And you could just save so much money by cutting him. If you designate him as a pre-June 1st cut, you save over $9 million. Post-June 1 is $10.25 million. That's not a big enough difference. So if you were to cut him, I think it would just be a pre-June 1st. That way he's completely off your books after next season. Cody Whitehair has been a warrior for this team. He's played guard. He's played center. They've moved him back. I mean, he has done whatever the team has asked him, but the reality of the situation here is he's just not an even average player anymore. And it's sad to see. He's lost that strength. He's gotten older. His overall PFF grade this year, 45. That's well below average. Pass blocking was okay, but still below average. Run blocking was brutal. Gave up 3 sacks, even though he was only a part-time starter. Only had 2 penalties, so okay, cool. He's a backup at this point. The problem is he is making not just starter money, but like good starter money, and he's not that anymore. So I think it's over for Cody Whitehair in Chicago. The only scenario I can see is if he restructures his contract to basically a vet minimum deal, and I don't think that's going to happen. I think these two sides part ways, and look, I wouldn't even be shocked if Whitehair retired. I mean, does he want to start over somewhere else? Is he going to be a starter in a different city? Maybe he'll get an opportunity somewhere. But for Chicago, I think you got to part ways unless, again, it's a vet minimum type restructuring. And it's a shame, but listen, he's had a good run here, and we wish him the best regardless of what happens. Show Cody Whitehair some love. Get the 65s in the comments. He's been a great player, teammate, captain at times for this team. He was a captain last year. Type 65 down below. If you want to show Cody Whitehair some love here on Chicago Bears Now. Eddie Jackson is next up. You could get the 4s in the comments as well. Another guy who's done some good things here for a while. But you really have to take a hard look at this situation with Eddie Jackson. I mean, his cap hit, I think, is like $17 million this year. If you cut him pre-June 1, it's $12.5 million in savings. Post-June 1, 14.1. Again, I don't think that's a wide enough gap. Just for detail, if you go post-June 1st cut, it splits over 2 years. So you might as well just eat it this year, whatever the dead cap hit is, which I think would be like $4-something million, rather than splitting it up over 2 years. Because $1.5 million in cap savings this season is not that big of a difference. I think at minimum here, a significant pay cut is coming. Now, Eddie Jackson, I think, can still be a starter for this team, whereas I don't think Cody Whitehair can. I don't think Eddie Jackson can be a high-level starter, but if he would take a significant pay cut where his cap hit got down to $5 million or less bucks, I'd be open to that. But if he's $10 million or more, it's just like, you're just not that player anymore, man. Like, he's just not that. That foot injury from the end of the season 2 years ago, I think, really set him back. It set him back this year where he kept popping in and out of the lineup. He finished the year, but then he didn't finish the year strong. I thought he played really poorly in that Packers game. So I think he probably gets cut. At minimum, a significant pay cut is coming. So Eddie Jackson, Cody Whitehair, 2 of your longest tenured players, might not be on this team much longer. Now, something that we hope is one of our sponsors for a while, because they're just an awesome sponsor, is Prize Picks. And we've been telling you guys about them all season long and on into the offseason here. Prize Picks Daily Fantasy made easy. You can play today. Get signed up at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use code CLNS. The beauty of Prize Picks is your fantasy season never ends because it's daily fantasy made easy, and you can pick different players. You don't have to have the same lineup like you do in your year-long fantasy leagues. I like Josh Allen to hit more than his passing yards. That's what's awesome about Prize Picks, too. It's just more or less, there's no complicated stuff to it. Dalton Schultz, I like the more on his receiving. I like the less on Aaron Jones rushing. 10 to win 50, 20 to win 100. I'm going to fire off a couple of 6-player entries this weekend, too, because why not? You can win up to 25 times your money if you connect on one of those. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to get a deposit match. Don't take my word for it. Rapper Meek Mill, comedian Andrew Schultz, and other celebrities are playing PrizePicks on a daily basis. Link is in the comments and in the description. PrizePicks.com/CLNS to get signed up. The code CLNS. They'll match your deposit match bonus up to $100. Okay, a couple more players here. Velus Jones Jr. Now, this would not really be a financial decision. You look at the cap savings, it's $1.2 million at most, and again, if you cut him, it would be, I assume, pre-June 1 designation. He just hasn't been good, man. Like, this is not what you signed up for. I mean, the guy has less than 300 total yards in 2 seasons offensively. I get it. He's a good kick returner, but with the fair catch rule, which hopefully that goes away, and that would help Velus' chances, but with the ability to fair catch and get to the 25, and with all these kickers booming them out of the end zone anyway, it doesn't matter if you're a premier kick returner. You've got to have some value elsewhere, and at least as a punt returner, which he can't catch punts, so he can't play there, he's been a disappointment. There's no way around it. This was a bad pick by Ryan Poles. Now, do I think there could be a scenario where he has some value on this team next year? Yeah, I think a smarter offensive mind could find a way to get him the football in space a couple of times a game and let him go, because we know what he can do with the ball in his hands, but he doesn't catch the ball well downfield. He can't catch punts. It's been disappointing, man, and it's a shame because he's a great athlete and has terrific speed, but as a third-round pick, he's come nowhere close to living up to that. So don't be shocked if he gets cut before next season. I think he'll be here through training camp, but, I mean, he's firmly on the roster bubble for me heading into the year, and that's without even knowing what wide receiver additions are going to be made. What would you guys do with Velus Jones Jr.? Type K for keep him or C for cut? I got to see how this wide receiver room shakes out, but the improvement just hasn't been there, so let me know down in the comments. Travis Homer is next up as, look, he's fine. He's a good special teams player. The problem is that's all he does. Cap savings, regardless of pre or post June 1, is just under $2 million. Again, it's not super significant, but he's strictly a special teamer. That's all he does. You can find someone who's equally productive for less than $2 million, if we're being completely honest. So I think there's a chance he gets cut. He doesn't give you any snaps offensively. So when you find these guys that are only special teamers, that they literally can't see the field elsewhere, it's hard to stick around. You got to be elite at what you do. He's a good special teams player. Is he so elite that you have to keep him? I'm not sure that you do. So we'll see what happens with Homer. Subscribe to the channel. It's going to be a wild offseason. It already has been for the Chicago Bears. So hit that sub button. Turn on those notifications. We're trying to get to 86,000 subscribers. You're not going to want to miss out here on Bears Now. Larry Borom is our last name here, as he played okay this year when Braxton Jones missed 4 games with that little neck stinger issue when he had to go on IR early in the season. Saved just over $1 million by cutting him. So again, it's not like you have keeping him as some financial detriment, but I could see the Bears adding at offensive tackle. Darnell Wright's the starter on the right side. I think Braxton Jones will be the starter on the left side, but A, I wouldn't be shocked if they brought in competition for Braxton, and B, you could do better than Larry Borom as your swing tackle. Larry's fine, but he's not a great scheme fit, and assuming they do something similar offensively and Ryan Poles' philosophies don't change with the type of offensive lineman he wants, he's too heavy for what this O-line likes to do. And I give Larry a lot of credit. He reshaped his body. He did this, he did that, but his style doesn't really fit this offensive line. So I could see the Bears adding a guy in the draft to compete at left tackle, or at least be an upgrade at swing. So we'll see if Larry Borom's here next year, but final year of his rookie deal, I could definitely see him being on the way out. Name a player that the Bears should cut. Sound off below. I think it's got to be those first two, right? I mean, you could save almost $22 million by cutting Cody Whitehair and Eddie Jackson. So those are the names I'm cutting. Drop a name you would cut down in the comments. All right, guys, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Excuse me, to Chicago Bears Now. We are also on Instagram. Let's get to 5,000. I would appreciate it. At HGramNFL. Continue to grow over there.